Once upon a time in a bustling city on Earth there was an alien girl. She was not like anyone that lived on this planet. Her skin was a translucent shade of green that shimmered faintly under the sunlight. Her eyes were enormous and black as the night sky. Her small frame hunched under the weight of hunger. She was an outsider in every sense of the word, and the city's streets were foreign to her. The alien girl had been stranded on Earth for what seemed like years. Her spaceship had crashed on this unknown planet, and all her attempts to repair it had failed. She did not understand the language the people spoke. She did not understand the food they ate or the way they lived. All she wanted was to return home to her planet. But her ship was broken beyond repair, and she had no way of communicating with anyone who could help. For months she wandered the streets of the city. She begged for food. She begged for anything that would keep her alive. But no one would help her. They either ignored her or stared at her in fear. The people of the city had never seen anyone like her before. She was different, and they were afraid. They had no idea who she was or where she came from. Her alien appearance made them uncomfortable, and they chose to walk away rather than offer her assistance. The girl had no choice but to continue begging. She stood on street corners with her outstretched hand. She made eye contact with passers-by in a desperate attempt to convey her need. But no one stopped. No one acknowledged her. The sounds of the city seemed to drown her out. Cars honked. People shouted at each other. The noise was overwhelming, and the alien girl felt as though she was invisible. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The alien girl became weaker with each passing day. Her body was frail, and her once vibrant green skin had begun to pale. She had no strength left to keep going. She was on the verge of collapsing from starvation when something unexpected happened. One day, a man walking down the street noticed her. He was an ordinary man with a plain face and worn clothes. He did not look rich or powerful. He did not seem like someone who could change the alien girl's fate. But when their eyes met, something shifted. The man saw her for the first time. He saw the desperation in her eyes and the pain etched on her face. He saw a creature who was not from this world yet still carried the same need for survival as any other living being. Without hesitation, he approached the alien girl. His steps were slow and cautious. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the last bit of change he had. He held it out to her. The alien girl blinked in surprise. She had not expected this. No one had ever given her anything. Her heart fluttered with a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. She had not known that kindness still existed in this world. The man did not speak. He simply held out the coins. The alien girl hesitated for a moment. She did not know if she should take them. But she was starving. She needed food more than anything. So she took the coins from his outstretched hand. The man smiled at her and nodded. He turned to walk away. But before he could go very far, the alien girl spoke for the first time. She did not know how to say words in the human language, but she made an attempt. She whispered something in a language that was not of Earth. The man stopped in his tracks. He turned back around and looked at her with curiosity. She tried again. This time she made the sounds more clearly, but they were foreign to him. He could not understand her words, but something in her voice touched him. The alien girl could sense that he wanted to help her. She struggled to express what she needed. She needed food. She needed shelter. She needed someone to care. The man took a step forward and knelt down to her level. His expression softened as he looked into her large black eyes. He gestured to the nearby food stand. He did not have much to offer, but he could buy her something to eat. The alien girl did not understand fully what he was saying, but she followed his gaze to the food stand. Her stomach growled loudly at the sight of the food. The man smiled and motioned for her to come with him. Slowly, she stood and followed him toward the food stand. Her legs were shaky, but she managed to keep up. The food stand owner looked at the two of them curiously. The man pointed to a dish and nodded. He gestured for the alien girl to choose whatever she wanted. She looked at the food with wide eyes. There were strange smells in the air. The food was unlike anything she had ever seen. She tentatively picked up a small piece of bread and held it in her hands. She did not know what it was, but the man seemed to think it was good. The man handed the vendor some money and then handed the bread to the alien girl. Her hands trembled as she took the bread from him. She took a small bite. The flavor was unfamiliar, but it was food, and it was enough. She had not eaten in days, and her body felt weak. She devoured the bread quickly. The man watched her with a concerned expression. He saw how hungry she was and how much she needed help. He decided that he would not leave her side. He did not know who she was or where she came from, but he knew one thing for sure. She needed him. He made up his mind then and there to look after her. Over the next few days, the man and the alien girl formed a bond. He took her to a small apartment he rented. It was not much, but it was a safe place for her to rest. He gave her food every day and made sure she had water to drink. Slowly but surely, the alien girl regained her strength. Her skin began to glow again and her eyes no longer looked so empty. She did not speak much, but the man could see the gratitude in her eyes. They communicated in their own way. She was not alone anymore. The man never asked questions about where she came from or why she was here. He did not need to know. All that mattered was that she was safe. They began to live together in harmony. He taught her what little he knew about the Earth. She taught him the little she could about her home planet. They shared stories and moments of laughter. The alien girl had found something she had not thought possible. She had found compassion in a world that had once turned its back on her. She had found hope where there had been none. But one day, the man received an unexpected phone call. It was from a government agency that had been tracking strange occurrences on Earth. They had heard about the alien girl and her strange behavior. They wanted to capture her and study her. They wanted to know where she came from and what secrets she held. The man knew that he could not let them take her. He had grown to care for her deeply, and he could not stand the thought of her being experimented on. He made a decision. He would help her escape. Together, they left the city and traveled to a remote location. They found a secluded area where the alien girl could hide. The man did everything he could to keep her safe. The government agents searched for them, but they never found them. The alien girl remained hidden and free. Eventually, the man had to say goodbye. He could not stay with her forever. He had his own life to return to, but he knew that he had done something good. He had saved a life. He had shown kindness to someone who had no one, and in doing so, he had changed the fate of the alien girl forever. The last thing he told her before he left was that she would always have a place on Earth. She had a friend here. She was not alone anymore. As for the alien girl, she eventually found a way to leave Earth. She never forgot the man who had helped her. He had shown her the kindness she had never known and had given her a chance at a new life. She returned to her planet, but she always kept the memory of the man in her heart. She knew that kindness was universal, that sometimes it only took one person to make a difference. And so the alien girl's journey continued. It had begun in desperation and loneliness, but it ended with hope and friendship. The starved beggar had become a survivor, and it was all because one man had chosen to see her as a person instead of an alien. As the years passed, the alien girl's life transformed completely. She settled back on her home planet, but she often thought about Earth and the man who had shown her kindness when no one else would. His face, though distant, remained vivid in her memories, and it became a reminder of the difference that even the smallest acts of compassion could make. On her home planet, things were vastly different from Earth. The skies shimmered with multiple moons, and the landscape was dotted with bioluminescent plants that pulsed gently, lighting the night in calming hues. The alien girl now called this place home once again, but she couldn't shake the memories of the man who had risked everything for her. She didn't fully understand why he had done it. She wasn't the first alien to visit Earth, nor was she. the only one to ever find herself in a situation of need. Yet, for some reason, he had been different. While others may have simply avoided her, or worse, exploited her vulnerability, he had given her food, shelter, and something even more precious, his time and care. Despite returning to her planet, her thoughts were never far from Earth. She became increasingly curious about humanity and its complexities. The man she had met had shown her the beauty of humanity that was not always visible on the surface. She had always thought of humans as complex and fragmented creatures, but the man had proven that beneath the exterior there was kindness. She wanted to understand more of this. She began to study Earth from afar, learning its languages, its history, and the complexities of its people. As she did, she felt the pull to return. She realized that her return to her planet, although important, had not given her the sense of fulfillment that she had hoped for. She needed to return to Earth, not only to understand the people better, but to see if there were others like the man who had helped her. She needed to find out if kindness was a force strong enough to change the fate of others, just as it had changed hers. And so, after much deliberation, the alien girl decided to leave her planet once again. This time, she didn't want to return to Earth as a beggar, desperate for survival. She wanted to return as someone who could give back, someone who could offer help and kindness in the same way she had once received it. She set out on her journey to Earth, this time with a ship that was fully functional, ready to traverse the stars and explore the vast unknown. She was not the same girl who had landed there years ago. She was stronger, wiser, and determined to make a difference. Upon arriving back on Earth, the alien girl found herself in the same bustling city, where she had once been stranded. It was overwhelming at first, the noise, the speed of life, and the endless flow of people. But she was no longer lost. She knew how to navigate the streets now. She knew where to find food, where to seek shelter, and how to blend into the background, if she needed to. What she didn't know was whether the kindness she had experienced was a rarity or something that could be found again. She started small, helping those who needed it, just as the man had helped her. She would give a few coins to those who looked hungry, or offer a hand to those who seemed lost or alone. At first, no one knew her for who she truly was. She was just another face in the crowd. But in time, her acts of kindness began to attract attention. Slowly, she started to find people who were touched by her gestures. The alien girl didn't speak much. Her language was still not something humans could understand, but her actions spoke louder than words ever could. She helped one person after another, and it wasn't long before she became known as the kind stranger, a mysterious figure who offered help without asking for anything in return. The more she helped, the more she realized that humans, despite their flaws, had an incredible capacity for compassion. She met people who were also willing to help others, who shared the same values of kindness, and who offered their time and resources to help those in need. It was then that she understood. Kindness wasn't something that only existed in rare instances, but a force that lived within the hearts of many people. It was everywhere, just waiting to be discovered, waiting to be shared. Had he found peace? Had his life been full of the same love and compassion that he had given her? She didn't know, but she wished she could thank him in person. He had given her a gift that no one else had. He had seen her as a living being worthy of help. He had treated her with dignity when others would have ignored her, and she knew that this act of kindness had changed her forever. One day, as she was helping a family in need, the alien girl overheard a conversation between two people in a nearby cafe. They were discussing a man who had disappeared years ago, a man who had helped an alien girl when no one else would. They spoke of him with a sense of admiration and respect, as if he were a hero who had done something extraordinary. The alien girl's heart skipped a beat. She leaned in closer, listening to the conversation. According to the story, the man had vanished without a trace after helping her. Some speculated that he had been involved in some government conspiracy. Others believed that he had left the city to escape the pressure of being labeled a hero. No one truly knew what had happened to him, but the alien girl could sense that something had changed within her. The man had left an indelible mark on the city and its people. Her heart heavy with emotion, she decided it was time to visit the place where it all began, the street corner where she had first met the man. She stood there, the memories flooding back as she gazed at the spot where she had been ignored by everyone but him. She silently thanked him for everything he had done. The street had changed, but the essence of that moment remained. She had not been alone in her darkest hour, and she would carry the memory of that kindness with her for the rest of her life. As the alien girl continued her journey on Earth, she became a symbol of hope, not just for those in need, but for those who had the power to give. She became a living testament to the idea that even the smallest acts of kindness could change lives. She never forgot the man who had changed hers. She did not need to find him again. She had already carried his legacy with her in everything she did. Wherever she went, she spread the message of kindness, not through grand gestures, but through simple acts of love and care. And so, the alien girl's story continued, a story of transformation, compassion, and the unbreakable bonds that connect all living beings, no matter how different they may seem. The girl who had once been a starving beggar had become a beacon of hope, not just for her planet, but for the people of Earth, who had shown her that kindness transcends worlds.